Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Winnebago Tribal Council meeting. This meeting has been rescheduled to today. The meeting today will be streamed on YouTube. We were having some technical difficulties with Facebook. So for that reason, today's meeting will only be streamed on YouTube. Some of our other council members will be joining us shortly, but we're going to call this meeting to order at 9:03. Good morning, John. Would you please say a prayer for us?
Aho choka mauna ho konsangre eguno egidore eguno egidore hinige no joni jono monege wo hojne hono no gono no hingre mongrege wo hojne hono no gono no hinge amt eri moni mongre no joni jo hinige amt eri moni mongre ni no jile chinige me wa heno no jo jo de ha higa e moni somongre no he's okay gide hamoni ibude aho choka. Today, this morning, we're here at the table of our people's promise and future, Choka, and we all come here wanting that, and so help us achieve that and make the best decisions for our people, and help us during these times that the sickness is upon us, and we've come a long ways, and we still have a ways to go, Choka. So look out for our hearts and our minds and our health and our children and our elders and everything the way you connected it first, Choka. That we want good that way, Choka. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for those good words and those prayerful thoughts. I'd just like to express my condolences to the mourners that we have in our community, as well as in the four directions. It seems like every day we hear of a relative or a family in distress, or someone who's fallen seriously ill due to the virus. And so we just keep our thoughts and prayers with everyone that's kind of going through this holiday season, and as we round out the end of this year. So thank you everyone for doing your best for the tribe and for the people. We have an agenda before us this morning. Is there any additions to this agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a addition.
Okay.
Profit sharing. The other one is HCI Board of Directors, and Victoria Ketchion versus the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska Tribal Council.
Okay, thank you, Thelma. Are there any further additions to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Thelma. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Our first portion of the agenda will be the reading of the minutes. We have the minutes in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the November 16th, 2020 mid-monthly minutes? We have a motion from Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Brian. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. The second set of minutes are the general council minutes for November 18th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? We have a motion. We have a motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Brian. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Our third set of minutes are from the November 19th, 2020 CEO report minutes. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
I didn't catch that. Who is that? Oh, Rona. Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Is there a second for the November 19th CEO report minutes? Eric, thank you. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Our last set of minutes is the November 30th, 2020 Treasurer's Report. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? We have a motion by Rona. We have a second from John. Thank you. To approve the November 30th, 2020 Treasurer's Report minute. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Our next portion of the agenda is to ratify 5 signatures. The first one on the agenda is adopt resolution 21-31, approving Big Fire Law and Policy LLP as general counsel for the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to ratify, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, ratify. We have a motion by Brian to ratify resolution 21, to ratify 5 signature. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Rona. Is there any objection? Oh, excuse me, is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Our second one is to adopt resolution 21-32 FY21 U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs Winnebago Solar Feasibility Study. Is there a motion to
ratify?
Motion to ratify by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? 700. Number 3, adopt resolution 21-33, authorizing WHDC to submit a grant proposal to the HUD Indian Housing Block Grant Competitive Grant Program for funding to support a 5-year renovation, new construction, and housing infrastructure expansion project to be conducted on the Winnebago tribe. Is there a motion to ratify?
So moved.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Lorelei. Is there any discussion? Any objections to the motion? Motion carried 700. Number 4, we had a one-time emergency grant for Madison Tompkins. Is there a motion to ratify?
So moved.
We have
Second.
a motion from Louis. We have a second from Brian. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Our last one is a one-time emergency grant for Lauren Buchanan. Is there a motion to ratify?
So moved.
A motion by Louis. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Eric. Thank you. Any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Thank you, Council. Under new business, we have the Tribal Social Security, and we need to approve the Indian Tribal Council coverage agreement. And for the membership's awareness, this item has been presented by our CFO several times over the course of the past couple years. And elected tribal officials don't pay into Social Security. And for that fact, when an elected tribal leader retires, they are also not able to count the quarters that they were an elected official to receive Social Security benefits. And so there's a Tribal Social Security Fairness Act of 2018 that allows tribal governments to decide and opt into having a Social Security deduction so that you can use that benefit when you are eligible. And so the tribe for some time has been educated by our CFO on this law and this opportunity. And it takes the tribal government to decide. And if it's not just opting in individually, if we do it, it's for everyone. And so this has come before our agenda, and now we've got some information in our packet. Do we have Alan on the line? No. So
Melissa was the other one that was helping out.
okay. Is anybody from finance on the line? So
I can speak up for this because the tribal council passed a motion to have me and Rona look into this. And right now, the tribal council, since there was no action to approve this, the tribal council isn't paying in on Social Security or Medicare. It's not being taken out. And so if we approve it, then they'll take out Medicare and Social Security from our payroll. But I would like to, because I want to pay in. Also, if you wanted to, there's an option to make it retroactive to whenever you started serving. But myself, I want to pay in. Thank you.
thank you, Lorelei. Is there, like I said, this has come to the table over the course of a couple years in Alan's leadership. And I think there's a willingness and interest in taking action on this. So with that, is there a motion to approve the Indian Tribal Council coverage agreement? Eric, did you have a question, or are you making a motion?
No, I'm making a question. This is just for tribal council members and not the entire tribe?
The entire tribe, the employees already they don't have a choice. They have these deducted from their check. And so the standard practice is that this is deducted from a check, but elected officials, it doesn't apply to elected officials. And so if the elected officials opt into participating, we would start having this withdrawn from our check. And when you reach the age of 65 or whenever you can draw, you would be able to count these quarters that you were an elected official. And you would have those deductions.
So that would be if you get on tribal council, after working for the tribe, you go work for the tribal council, and then you get back off, and then on your Social Security, it would show no break in payments. So is that the way it would be looking?
Well, yeah, if you were continuously gainfully employed, yeah, there would be you would just keep paying in. But as of now, there are no deductions that come out of tribal council's check for these items.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a motion? Oh, Louis.
What if you're retired?
That's a good question. If you're, then you would be working. I mean, I guess this would be another job, and you would be able to, I guess, when you left council service, then you would be able to apply for these, because Louis, I'm sure you may be of eligible age. But the thing is that if the tribe decides to do it, it's for everyone. It's not just this one or that one, or you can't opt in or opt out.
Well, I have no problem with it. I was just wondering.
So it would just, I think, I don't know all the particulars, but I assume that it would roll up, you know, say you got another job, say you had a different, you know, it's just paying into under your identity. I don't know if that's the right word to say, into your social security account. So is there a
Madam
motion?
Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2134, approving the Indian Tribal Council Social Security and Medicare coverage to be taken out of our payroll.
I'll second.
No, there isn't one in there, but we can get one. So we have a motion by Lorelei to adopt resolution 21, did you say 34?
Yes.
Authorizing the tribal social security, approve the Winnebago Indian Tribal Council coverage agreement. We have a second from Thelma. Is any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 700. Our second item under new business is the Winnebago Land Corporation Board minutes.
Madam Chair, I ask that this be on the agenda as the official responsible for keeping our records. We need to keep a file of even though the land corporation ended, we need to keep a file for the future. So I wanted the entire minutes for our records. That's all.
Okay.
And we have in here when the tribal council appointed, they appointed 3 people on June 21st of 2018, which was Irita Blackbird, Thelma Whitewater, and Patricia Madsen. And then on July 9th, 2018, the council appointed Coley Brown and Isaac Smith. So it would be these minutes starting after June 21st forward until you guys dissolved it this past spring. I would like those minutes for our records.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Lorelei. Brian?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to direct the board members to deliver all board meeting minutes and materials related to such from January 1st, 2018 to present, within 2 weeks.
We have a motion by Brian to direct the former Winnebago Land Corporation Board of Directors to produce minutes from January 1st, 2018 to present within 2 weeks. Is there a second? We have a second from Rona. Is there any discussion, John?
Yeah, being a former board member, because there is no board members anymore, I think that those minutes can be found within the tribal organization by our CEO, utilizing the land management and physical resources director, Arita Hunter. I think that would be the best way for those to be found.
John, they're not in our records here.
Yeah,
looked. They're not in any of the tribal council drive. Tyresha doesn't have them. And that's why we're asking for them. They're not in our tribal council files.
I understand that, but there is no land corporation office and board members don't have those. And I said the best place to find them might be with Irita, because when I was having meetings, Irita was the one conducting them. There were some few requests. I was a board member during that time that you're talking about. And I'm saying that Irita and the land management department would have those, because there was no land corporation office.
Okay, so I think, John, that would have been really helpful, but there's been no I don't know if I should say willingness, but there's been no cooperation. And and so we need to come to this. And so the ones doing the research weren't able to kind of just do the legwork, and so it found itself on the agenda. So is there any further discussion or comments, or maybe some helpful information where we could and so thank you, John, for that comment. I think that's a place that we can certainly find resource. Is there any objection to the motion? If there's no objections, motion carried 7-0-0. Rona? So thank you, Council. Under Tribal Council items, our first item is 18 quarts of corn that the Tribal Council purchased. So this,
I put that on there, Madam Chair. If you guys remember, the Tribal Council made a motion to go with the tribal member vendor who was gonna cook the soup. And so out of pocket, he had already bought 18 quarts of corn for the soup after we approved it. And in the meantime, the Human Services had bought 18 quarts from somebody in Dakota City. So our tribal member vendor cooked that soup. Everybody was happy, but the Human Service still has 18 quarts of corn that was purchased. So my suggestion was, if the council agrees, is we could donate it to the senior center. And the seniors could have a nice meal a couple times this winter with our washa. But the council has to decide because we all approved that purchase. Thank you.
thank you, Lorelei, for the kind thought for the seniors. Is there a motion for the 18 quarts of corn purchased by the Tribal Council to be donated to the Winnebago Senior Center?
I have a question first. Is there any other activities that social service will be doing for the community that would be able to use that corn instead of purchasing it again? Do they do anything on Christmas or whatever's coming up?
I'm not aware of any other large meal or community gathering. The one that I'm most familiar with is the Thanksgiving community gathering, but the floor is open if the council is aware of that. Brian?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize the council secretary to take all actions necessary to resolve the location and use of those 18 quarts of corn.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Louis. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? One objection. Delma objects. Call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Aye.
Brian, Lorelei, Louis, Rona, John. All those opposed, raise your hand. Thelma, Eric. 5-0 or 5-2-0. Motion carried.
Can that motion be repeated, please?
Brian, will you repeat your motion, please?
To authorize the tribal council secretary to take all actions necessary to resolve the final location of these 18 quarts of corn.
Thank you. Our second item under that was added is profit sharing. Thelma?
hold on. I know, Laura had made a motion, about the profit sharing. But my understanding was that, that was with the audit. The audit was supposed to find out about that profit sharing. But I want to make a motion to direct HCI to submit to the tribal council no later than 15 days after receiving notification of this motion, a report of the profit sharing that has been paid to all HCI employees since 2010 through 2020, listing the number of employees and the amount received. Furthermore, for the years 2018, 19, 20, the report must include the names of employees and the amount each employee received.
Thank you, Thelma. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Eric. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I'm going to be opposed to this motion because it violates the federal law Privacy Act.
Okay,
I
thank you.
disagree with that. That's not a national corporation. This is a private one
Federal law still applies.
owned by the tribe.
Okay, we have a comment from Lorelei. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion?
Object.
Brian Chamberlain objects. Call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Thelma and Eric and John. All those opposed to the motion, raise your hand, please. Rona, Louie, Brian, Lorelei. Motion failed. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 0. Motion failed. Thelma, will you kindly email the language of your motion to Lorelei, because I wasn't able to capture that whole thing.
Sure.
Thank you. Our third item is the HCI Board of Directors. Thelma?
Okay, on that, when does the tribal council get any information from the board of directors when they meet? Because I had requested John and Brian and I had gotten no response. Being that this gaming thing had been approved and we don't know what's going on with our economic arm up there, I would like to make a motion that the board of directors make that report to the rest of the tribal council.
Okay, thank you, Thelma. There's a motion for the HCI Board of Directors to give a report. Do you have a date? Or do you have a frequency in mind? Do you have, or you just want them to give a report?
Yeah, just give a report.
Okay, to tribal council. So we have a motion by Thelma. Do we have a
Yes.
second?
Second.
Thank you, Eric. We have discussion.
Discussion, Madam Chair.
Brian.
Let's see. From the comment that was made in the request as one of the council representatives to the Ho-Chunk Incorporated Board of Directors, that request was sent 2 days ago, late in the afternoon. And so I think that it's a little bit out of turn to state that no reply was given, because if there's that level of detail expected, it should be understood as a matter of policy and process that that request is not immediate. And so I think that needs to be clarified in that statement for the council and for the tribal membership's awareness. The board of directors is forthcoming in every action that it takes the minutes are also in process of being brought forward from any activity that has occurred since my appointment. And I think that's what needs to be clarified in this situation.
Thank you, Brian, for your comment. John, as our other board member, did you have a comment or anything you wanted to offer?
Just that to me, it seems like any council member would be able to request the board minutes and they would be made available. I haven't seen HCI and the team over there deny any requests. And that's a very reasonable request. So I'll be supportive of the motion.
Thank you, John. Is there any further comments or discussion? Is there any objections to the motion?
Object.
Louis. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Yes. We have John, Eric, Thelma. Opposed, please raise your hand. Brian, Lorelei. Are you raising your hand, Louis? I can't tell or not. Yeah, Louis. Rona, I didn't see your vote. Does we have any abstentions? Abstain? Let's see, 3-3-1. Let's see, the vote is 3-3-1.
The chair is not required to vote.
So the vote is 3-3-0, or excuse me, 3-3-1. So if I vote, what if I don't vote?
Then the motion fails.
So
A tie is not a passage.
yeah.
Passage must be a majority vote.
So I don't support the motion, but I do support that we need to have a line of communication, and I really have I believe in John and I believe in Brian, and I think that they deserve time to bring information forward and in the way that the board of directors has it ready and available to share. So so I'll say about that much, but the vote is 3-3-1 and the motion has failed. And I would just like to ask John and Brian to work with their colleagues on the board of directors to make information available to the council. Brian.
Eric was first.
Okay, Eric.
I think our representatives on that board should if they can get a meeting underway and kind of get that idea of where they're going to go on a time frame and what their plans are, or where they're going to start the building at, and I guess not necessarily that, but just to come up with a bring back to the council an idea, because this passed in through the state a few weeks ago, and we've kind of been waiting for this for a few years now. Definitely the last year. They've been having those signatures go around for quite a while now. And so I think the sooner we can get some kind of idea on where they want to go, I just think that would be better for the council and the community to be kind of know what's in the know of what's going on with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that comment, Eric, I guess I want to thank you for clarifying what you're actually looking for in that. And I think that's a component of what needs to be requested. John is very capable of speaking for himself and his positions on this board as well. So I don't want this comment to be construed as speaking for any of the other members of the board. But as information comes forward, if we need to share that in a better way, we can do that. But I'll go back to my initial comment that I made in relation to this topic, is that when a request is made, it should not be deemed as an immediate return for that. That process of communication was already underway, and I assure the other members of the council that I have diligently worked to request that information. However, nobody's sitting at a desk waiting for that to be given. And so at the same time, it has to be understood that requests are not immediate, especially when we're not even 2 days beyond that request. And so at the same time, that clarity needs to be made.
Thanks, Brian.
Madam
Lorelei?
Chair, I have a comment.
Lorelei?
I don't like that HCI is always getting singled out here. The tribal council members sit on various boards and committees. And I think that we should have a report back on every board or every committee that any tribal council member sits on and give us an update what's going on. I think it should be a regular report with any board that a tribal council member sits on or is on a committee of. I just don't think one entity should be singled out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorelei. I would agree. I think that there's a lot of good work underway by the tribal council and the boards they sit on, and it's been talked about several times. We had a tribal member come in. Actually, she wrote a letter to the council. She put herself on the agenda, and she asked for written reports in the WIN on communication, perhaps through one of the council meetings where we'd all have a time to report out. So we just need to make that happen, and you know, that would help some of the issues we're talking about today. If we just had space and a time, carve it out in the agenda where we all get 5 minutes, you know, this is what I'm working on. And I think that's a good thing. So thank you. Thelma.
Just to clarify on my email was to put that out there, and if you did receive it, at least I should have at least got a response saying, yes, we received this, but then go on to explain that, you know, this, whenever the meeting is, or the process of whatever John said, I mean, some kind of response, and nobody responded to me. So that's why I put this on. So, and what Lorelei said, I do believe in that too. We should have all these reports. The other thing was the Winnebago Game and Development was directed, and we never did receive any kind of reports from that to this day. So yes, we need to have these reports in on any boards and committees. I agree.
Thanks, Thelma. So we're gonna move on to our next item, which is number 4, Victoria versus Winnebago Tribal Council. Thelma?
Okay, on this one here, Victoria Kitchion had is suing us, the current council, through the court. And I guess we don't really understand why this is continuing on, because she got what she wanted. She's got on a ballot. She's on council now. And with this, what's going on is now we got to pay for a lawyer to represent us. And what I don't understand is she's on both sides of this, defend it, and then suing herself. So to me, that is a conflict of interest. And with that, I wanted to make a motion to remove Victoria Kitchion from tribal council for that conflict. Because it's not right to be sitting on the council and then suing the council, suing yourself, and causing the tribe more money. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, the motion is out of order. It
Yeah,
doesn't even need to be considered.
That's not you don't remove people by, that's not the process for removing a tribal council member, Thelma, and as you know, you participated in my formal removal, so you know there's a process. But for the membership and the tribal council's information, as you know, I was previously removed from the tribal council through an ethical complaint, and by procedure, I have the opportunity to challenge that in tribal court, and I have 2 weeks to challenge my hearing. A hearing was held, and it's my opinion that I was not given due process, and Thelma had me locked out of my email. I was not given the information I requested from former Chairman Brown. And so I didn't have the opportunity to fully present my information in the hearing that I had. And so by the procedure, I have 2 weeks to go to tribal court and file an appeal. And so I went to tribal court in June and I filed an appeal. And so from there, the judge sets up a series of court dates to look at the challenge that I filed in tribal court. And in the midst of that, the tribal council decided to switch general counsels, and they excused Big Fire Law and they hired Heidman. And so there was supposed to be a trial this summer, actually, and there was supposed to be it was this fall. It was before elections, and the tribal council chose to hire Heidman and then asked for a continuance in tribal court. And so the tribal court granted that continuance, and these court dates got drug out throughout the fall and are still going on. And so it was my right to file an appeal over my removal, and it is my right to see that court case through in tribal court. And it was the wisdom of the council to hire a new attorney and ask for more time. And this should have been resolved this summer. And if the council never fired Big Fire and hired a new attorney, this would have been resolved, you know, in whatever way. And so the court, you know, once this comes to being resolved, would give an opinion on the hearing only. And then the council it would be their prerogative to hold a new hearing. And so I think it's really important to note that this is all part of the procedure, and I'm not doing anything out of order or out of what is outlined in the special procedures. So with that, Lorelei?
Madam Chair, I think the blame here is at the direction of the blame here is wrong. A previous tribal council removed 2 members over a hair drug test. One of the individuals, Victoria, actually did the test and they still removed her. This is before I was on the council. And I think that action was illegal. It's against federal law.
Can we get order?
And so I'm not finished talking. And so when I got elected, I wasn't on the council when this happened. And since then, I'm on the council. But if I was on the council, I would oppose that removal if I was on the council at the time. But I don't like the tribe having to pay for what that council did. A lawyer. Our people's precious resources. And no one's been held accountable for that illegal removal.
So Thelma?
It is what it is. The facts stand here that Victoria Ketchion is suing the current tribal council, which she sits on. And she was remedied in court already, so I guess I don't understand why this is still going on. And with these legal people that you guys had got in with Big Fire Law, claiming that they are native and that they are here to work with our people, then where are they? Because they're doing all these court battles, they're all white people that's representing. Where's the natives? That's the other thing to that. So, but I stick with my motion.
So,
Conflict of interest.
there,
Where were the
the
natives?
motion, Louis,
Where were the natives with Heidemann?
okay. So,
We never claimed there was natives in Idaman. You
okay,
guys did.
point of
Where
order,
are they then? Where
Point of
are they
order.
representing us?
point of order,
Louis?
point of order. The motion is not being recognized because that is not the mechanism that you remove a tribal council member. But thank you, Thelma, and for sharing your thoughts with us. Brian, did you have a comment?
No,
And then
Madam
John.
Chair, I was simply going to ask for a point of order in relation to that because the motion is out of order. The agenda item was to discuss the court case, not to bring this issue forward. And then the other side is clarity. It is not a fact. Victoria Kitchian versus Winnebago Tribal Council is not this council who is on this meeting. It is the previous one. Therefore, please clarify the facts.
Yes, it is. No, it is the current. Brian, it's the current, including you. Your name's on there. Look on that court order.
Point of order, council. As you know, the tribe is now back with Big Fire Law, and there is a transition of work between Heidemann and Big Fire. I have a call with Jennifer Bear Eagle, our general counsel, this afternoon, and we're going to go over the agenda items that are still on the table for general counsel and the tribe, and this is one of those issues. And so I intend to inform the council on the outcome of that discussion, and if Big Fire, how they will be proceeding with that item. And so it still hasn't been resolved. We've had a pretrial conference. The council participated in that. And so I guess I just personally don't appreciate Thelma trying to somehow mischaracterize this, but you know, this will all continue in tribal court, as well as the tribal council's involvement and awareness of this item. It will be on our general council agenda. So just please continue to stay informed. And John, did you have a comment?
I was just really disheartened and concerned that we're discussing a court case that's ongoing and that it was allowed. That was my comment.
Okay, thank you, John. So that motion will not be recognized, and we're going to move into old business under emergency grant and natural disaster grant discussion, approval of changes to applications. So council, as you know, the Winnebago tribe has had a Winnebago application for emergency grant and an application for a natural disaster. And this is the 250 that tribal members are eligible for when they have a family member pass away, or they have a serious illness, or need assistance with an appointment. And so the council has been in discussion about modifying this policy and trying to, on one hand, tighten it up, on the other hand, create flexibility where we can. It seems that you know, it's not all the time, but there are isolated instances when we have relatives and that are in hardship, and maybe only the applicant is enrolled, and maybe the person that's sick or the person that passes is not an enrolled member. And so most recently we've had several of these, and the tribal council has compassion. You know, I do believe that it really is a lack of resources that we're not able to, you know, fund every one of these requests, and that the limitations and the qualifications for this emergency grant have been put in place more to accommodate our limited resources and try to stretch that money and help who we can. And there's been ones that we really want to help, and we're bound by this policy. So that's what brings us forward to this discussion. The council had made a motion this summer to direct the chairman to make modifications, and so in your packet you have the application for emergency grant, and you have some comments. The two biggest things and the two biggest areas that have created a challenge or sometimes a roadblock have been one, the per incident, because the policy says that you can only get it once per 12-month period, and the per incident language has allowed sometimes people, it's been interpreted as per incident. Say say I had a broken leg, and then I had a I don't know, another emergency, and so it was per incident was happening where people were getting it for every time there was any type of ailment or emergency. And so there was discussion to strike that per incident so that they would just be a 1 month, 12 per month period, once per 12-month period. And the second kind of topic where people were finding challenge and was with the enrolled tribal member, and the person in the family member in distress also had to be enrolled. And so I introduced that as an item for modification. The second item was suggestion that, excuse me, the third item for suggestion was that mileage be paid rather than $250. Sometimes tribal members have an appointment in Sioux City and they get $250, or they go to Omaha and it's not necessarily overnight and they get $250. Then we have tribal members who have to go to the Mayo Clinic and have greater distance and might have to stay for extended periods of time. So there was a suggestion that we do mileage, and that would be helpful, not to exceed the $250. So those are the three things that I've identified that need discussion and some modification. And I would just like to open it up to the council for discussion. Eric.
I think, well, and I know we have care for our enrolled membership, and we do our best to take care of them. I think the wording in here should stick with enrolled membership.
Who passed away?
And so with that, that if there's any relation to any individual that's not an enrolled member, I think we should still keep that as a case-by-case basis for that compassion that's being talked about for our enrolled membership.
Okay. So
With
Carl
that,
Blackfish. Okay. So what the heck? Where'd my thing go? Okay. Thank you, Eric, for that comment. I just got excuse me, council. We just now learned that we have a tribal elder that passed away. So I just want the council to be aware of that, and that if the council wants to proceed and finish this last agenda item, or if you want to adjourn.
I would say proceed.
Brian.
Madam Chair, is this policy amended and ready to go?
It's the recommendations that we've made is to strike per incident, is to strike both, and strike and or immediate family in distress is an enrolled member. So we'd be striking. So this would allow a person to, for instance, we had tribal members had an immediate relative pass away, and they wanted gas money to go to the funeral. Well, we weren't able to fund that under this policy, so that would have allowed that person to use this policy. So, and then the third one would be that they would get mileage.
Okay, with that, Madam Chair, these are living documents. They can be changed at any time. I'll make a motion to approve the amendments.
A second.
And if somebody hates it, then bring it back with your suggestions.
We have a motion by Brian and we have a second by Louis to approve the modifications as outlined in the packet. Brian, is that for the emergency natural disaster as well?
Yeah.
They both capture the same changes. Yes. We have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Okay. Council, like I said, I just now learned of a passing of a tribal elder. I apologize to the family. We just now learned of this, and we would have not have proceeded had we known that this was happening. So with that, thank you for your time this morning, Council.
Motion to adjourn.
Ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Brian to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Rona to adjourn at, we are adjourned at, excuse me, is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? We are adjourned at 9:59. Thank you, Council. Have a nice day.
Victoria,
Yes, Louis.
could you email us the name of that person that passed away?
Yes, sir. I'll email it right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Poor Carl.